Music matters. En-Vitro.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing, gentlemen? Thanks for doing this. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, of course. How you guys doing today? What's new? How's your Tuesday going?
It's Tuesday, my dudes.
Super windy.
What'd you say?
Super windy in the valley.
Yeah, it's kind of scary windy.
Yeah.
Dude, I was thinking about this morning. I wonder how long I'm going to associate wind with fire. Just for how long, whenever it gets windy, I'm going to be like, oh, everything's going to set on fire again.
It's definitely traumatic. It's like, yeah, absolutely.
You live in SoCal, that's kind of just what you get now, I guess, right?
Yeah. How was that for you guys? Because you're from LA. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm sure it's incredibly different because I'm a transplant. So I'm sure it's very different between experiences from somebody who's not here to somebody who grew up here. Was that like...
It's definitely weird seeing some of like the communities like that you've definitely gone by, like maybe Thousand Oaks or like or like that area, Malibu, like seeing some of those like houses or like just like locations just burned down is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, so that's really really sad and stuff. But besides that, I mean,
it's pretty crazy. Yeah. So I live in Mid-City, and I'm able to...
Pass one of those pens real quick, too.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, bro. I take notes on the table. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I stay over in Mid-City, and I'm able to see, like, the Palisades fire from like, 10 miles out. And it was just crazy seeing, like, the fire, like, starting to reach over the mountain. But I think the more freaky part about it was that it's close to our studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at one point I was even like paranoid to the point where like, man, like if it reaches over, like I just rather have like all my equipment and take it back home, you know?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, it was like definitely like a day where we like took some of our stuff back home just to make sure that it was good.
Yeah, thank God it didn't like reach over, but
yeah, bro.
Still crazy.
There are so many musicians I know who just lost like entire studios, like everything. And that, God, man,
a bunch of businesses.
Yeah. I feel like that's so heartbreaking specifically because it's like, God, bro, if you're an independent musician, to build your studio and acquire all that gear, it takes years, bro.
Yeah,
like
literally from ground up.
Yeah, it takes years and years and years. Like I recently just added up because I've been doing this for 7 years, and I recently just added up like all my equipment just to get a number because I was putting a bunch of it on ShareGrid. And I had like over $15,000 of like equipment.
That's actually,
and I have like 1/15 of that in my bank account. So I was like, if I lost everything tomorrow, God, dude, it's scary to think about. And yeah, but heart goes out to everybody who was affected by it, bro. But that was it was tragic. Also, so strange to try to like, I don't know. It felt very weird to kind of like navigate putting stuff out normally after.
Yeah, we were having that conversation where we had our manager end up posting something on our Instagram. We're like, I don't know, something about like promoting something while like the whole city's on fire is like, doesn't feel great, doesn't feel right. And I think at time like these, it's important to just kind of like, you know, like let people mourn and like, I maybe not post anything, you know, mostly. Just
like put the focus on other stuff, especially for the platform.
So much more out that's going on right now than like having to like see somebody's like band page or it's real life, you know.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I will say, I think it's strange, but I think in times like this though, you really really do see the value of like localized strength of community.
Absolutely.
And just like how much people, dude, like the amount of benefit shows and stuff that I've seen, it's just they're popping up left and right, and it's really beautiful to think that like people, even if they're not expressing it vocally all the time, like when something like this happens, obviously so much of their care goes towards their community. I bet that's even more true for you guys being from LA and stuff. Did you have like any, I'm sure you had a bunch of friends and stuff affected by the fires?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's really rough.
Yeah, pretty surreal. I mean, every few years it happens, but it's always pretty tragic every single time it happens. Like I remember, were you guys here in 2018 yet?
Been here for like 2 years now.
Oh, okay. Because there was the big one up in like the Woolsey fire up in 2018, like West Valley, like West Hills, like Bell Canyon. That one was pretty bad too. Like pretty similar to this one.
Oh really? It was close as bad?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Damn.
Yeah, that one was pretty bad, and that was more like Malibu Hills also, so it was pretty.
Yeah, bro.
Pretty brutal.
It's like the pros and cons of living in such a beautiful city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
To be fair, that's not much. You don't have to worry for much. It's like earthquakes and or like potential fires.
That's true.
Yeah.
We don't have hurricanes or anything else like that.
We don't have anything that crazy. Or tsunamis, I guess, you know. But,
yeah.
you know, living in California is pretty stress-free for the most part.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Dude, talking a bit about that, just growing up in LA in general, and then being a band that's obviously so tied to Los Angeles. It seems like most of the bands you guys play with are like from LA or surrounding areas, and it's been really cool because I moved here and kind of like found a bunch of bands in like a somewhat adjacent scene to a lot of the bands that you guys play with. The first time I saw you play was the birthday show last year with
the quinceañera.
Yeah, with Bed in Israel.
Oh, yeah.
That's an iconic show.
And that was it was pretty crazy. It also introduced me to both those bands, who I became like big fans of. No, so I thought I loved it from like a taste making perspective. I thought it was so sick, and I was like pretty blown away because I didn't know of you guys before. And then your live performance was incredible, of course. But also just like what was incredible was the reaction. Like people were just going insane. It was a very, very, very crazy show, and I was like, it was wild because I feel like bands your guys' size, I never see people who know like all the lyrics and like that kind of just dedication, and just like people were going insane. Yeah. So I guess the first thing I kind of wanted to start on was just like, what do you think is the key to kind of begin, you know, this kind of a question, I guess, so in LA, but also in other places for other people. What do you think are the keys to kind of begin to grow like a localized fan base in a small like culture within your band and within your fan base? And did you guys do that intentionally? Did you just have a bunch of friends in the area? Do you think that like growing up in LA helped with that?
It was saying yes to every show for years.
Yeah.
I think it goes like that for a bunch of bands.
Yeah.
Yeah, just play as much. You need to get out there. You need to be active. You need to be like active in your community and like supporting the people who support you. You know.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of that like throughout the years. And that show, the quinceañera, was like the first time where we were like, whoa. Yeah, okay, like we could definitely like put some crazy shit together. Because before that, it was kind of like we were saying yes to like literally every single show. And some of them we'd be playing to like 3 people, you know.
Yeah.
I remember we played like a UCLA like house show. It was, there was literally like our 2 coworkers there, and then someone next door in the balcony was like, "Stop playing that fucking music!"
Yeah, they were like talking shit over that.
Yeah, and then like the next week we're playing like some crazy show where like we have so much love.
Oh, that was the week before?
Well, no. It was actually a couple weeks before that, I think.
Really, the UCLA show, and then we played the quinceañera.
Wasn't it?
I don't remember it being, but I mean, potentially.
Were a couple months apart.
Yeah.
Or like a month apart.
But lots of shows were playing like that in general, where it's like maybe like a couple of people there, and you know, you just have to like play, you know, of course.
Even that's crazy though. Like a couple months between those two, like what changed in that time?
That's what I was gonna say.
No idea.
We have
the worst part about it was that like it was the best like performance we did too.
Yeah.
Like we sounded so
and
good.
In the background, it was like Cabot Delta sucks.
Yeah, or some stupid shit.
That's crazy though. That those 2 shows were just a couple of months apart.
I really don't know. I think I will say that I think Drown as a song has done well enough. It's weird. Maybe not weird, but I feel like that song has really like pushed the band, and then obviously the music we have afterwards. But I don't really know how it happened. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think we had a really poppin' show for that, and I think like you actually you got introduced to our band and a lot of other bands.
Yeah.
I feel like that just was like an introduction to a lot of the music that was coming out in LA.
I'm trying to think about how Mario, you took me there, but was it because of Israel?
No, it was because
Willowake played that.
Yeah.
That's right. I
Those
forgot
guys
about
are
that.
The homies.
Yeah, I've known them for years.
They're great.
Love those guys.
Yeah.
I met them because they opened for Mount Eddie and Ultra Q at a show, Bottom of the Hill in the Bay Area.
I was there. I went up to that. Yeah.
You were at that show?
Yeah, I'm a big Ultra Q fan. So that was
crazy.
I drove up with some friends for that.
Yeah, that show was so sweaty, man.
Yeah, but that's when I met Junior. So I was like, wait, you guys aren't from the Bay? He's like, yeah, we're from like South Bay. I was like, dude, like let's link up when we get back to the city. And then
sick.
We've been. We have the same manager now, so.
Oh yeah.
Oh cool. I love those kids, man. They're some of the sweetest and kindest, and also just most talented people that I know.
Yes.
They're just such great people. I love them. Okay, yeah. So I guess that's how I ended up there.
Yeah.
But I think that's an interesting point. What you just brought up, kind of like supporting your localized community and how that kind of plays into a bigger, just a bigger scene. How that like begins to grow the scene. I also think it's interesting. I feel like that time period, there were a lot of bands having tipping points around that time period, and I wonder if that kind of contributed to it.
Tipping points isn't like
getting big very quickly.
Yeah.
Well, also I feel like when we were in the like real grind fest of like playing shows like every weekend, that was also about when people were starting to like have house shows and stuff again, like post pandemic as well. So there was a void there as well.
I will say, I think what also happened of how big the reason why that show got so big was because it was right after New Year's, and I feel like everybody was trying to go out and still have fun after New Year's.
It was the very first thing.
It was the very first show I think that happened in LA in our scene that year. And everybody was like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." I think there was a Rosie's Patch show that day, and I feel so bad. But I'm pretty sure everybody ended up like coming over to this side. They saw videos and photos of our.
Yeah, people were like, "We were at this other show, but we were seeing videos of your show, so we just like went to that."
Talking about supporting. We're over here taking businesses from other.
We only charge like $5 a ticket, right?
Yeah, that's also why it's
super cheap.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, worth it.
The saying yes thing is interesting because I think it's almost like that advice reigns so true when you're like just in the beginning, and then you get to a certain point where like I think that becomes so difficult and you got to get more choosy. I'm sure you guys have experienced how that's
100%
for sure.
Yeah. Especially after that, because after that show, we just started getting like bigger and bigger offers.
Just kept going.
Just kept going.
Yeah.
I think that's you asked like, oh, like how did that even happen with like people like knowing your music. I think it really just like that was the catalyst to one better show. I think right after we played the Paramount with
Bed and Great Secrets.
That was the Halloween show. That was on the 10th. I'm talking about like the 6th. We played the Paramount.
Oh yeah, the day after.
And that show went really well too.
Which show do you play the day after?
It was the Paramount. I can't recall.
Who did we play with though?
I think the Barflies, right?
Yes, the Barflies, and Liminal Spaces.
Yes.
And I can't think of the other band. I'm so sorry, but it's been so long. It's been now like quite literally a year now.
Like a year, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a blur.
Was that difficult? Like when you got, because I imagine like saying yes to everything for so long. Obviously, there's an element of like you feel like you have to do it. There's also an element of it being super fun playing live. I'm sure. So like when you kind of had to switch that mentality and you went from like yes on everything to like, okay, we literally have to be more choosy now because we have no other option. Was that difficult at all? Because I'm sure you guys wanted to play live as much as possible, but sometimes that's not always realistic.
Part of it was like a relief because we were also exhausted of like playing all the fucking time.
Yeah,
because especially when we were recording the album, it was like we were recording, we had to practice and then play a show. And it was like that, like clockwork. And it was like, there was no room for like being able to work on new stuff, you know, because we were very like tied up to like, we're on a schedule. We got like all these things going on.
Yeah.
And it felt like a job.
Yeah.
Like it definitely feels like a job at some point, but like being able to say no is like, okay, now we have time to like do other stuff.
Yeah.
It's definitely a relief.
It is. It's nice.
I feel like I hear that from touring bands a lot. Like bands that like have been doing it for years and years and years, and you know they're at a stage where they're touring pretty often. I hear a lot about the frustration of like the cycle between like, you know, record, write, tour, record, write, tour, record, write, tour. I would imagine that's such a difficult thing to break out of because it's almost like it's very paramount to your success, but simultaneously it's not really like conducive to. I don't know. Maybe it's not conducive to making the best art.
It did feel suffocating at a certain point. Well, because I mean, we all three of us used to work at the same restaurant.
Nice.
It was all three of us, same shifts. End of shift
same
like 10:30.
shifts too.
Yeah, we would see each other every single day.
We'd end our shift 10:30. Band practice at like 11 p.m.
Damn,
play
bro.
like a show or two during the weekend, and then just keep cycling through that.
Yeah,
that was what was most tiring. I think it was not so much playing the shows, but like having to prepare for the shows. In my eyes.
And they just kept going.
Yeah.
Well, especially now, because like all of our schedules are so conflicting.
Now it's even harder.
Yeah.
Much harder.
Yeah, I would assume that and it's interesting too because I feel like that just gets harder the longer you keep going. It's like almost, it's strange, but it's almost like the success just makes things more difficult as you keep going on. Not to say that it's not a blessing and not, you know, a huge gift, but
it's more work, but a bigger reward.
It complicates it for sure. I know you were saying that at a certain point it did kind of begin to feel like a job a little bit. Yeah. How do you kind of break out of that in that moments when you guys feel like you're kind of in that cycle of like record, play, show, record, play, show, record, play, show? Is there anything that you like to remember that kind of like breaks you out of that, you know, feeling that cycle and kind of like not feeling like this is a job?
Reminding each other that we're also still friends, you know, like going out and just having fun, regardless of like, oh, we have to like make music right now and like really forcefully. Like I feel like a big part of it is, I think there was a moment in our like, even just like the band itself, we were just, all we were doing was just music related stuff, you know, and so I feel like breaking that cycle is important, you know, like making music is really important and that's fun and all, but also just go and have fun with your homies, you know.
It's more about like expanding your intake, because it's like if you're always like, your output is all this creative stuff, but you're exhausted from everything, because it's like you need to experience things to be able to like create a new perspective or whatever, right? So like you need a constant intake to be able to like have a good outtake, you know?
Yeah. I think that's a huge point, bro. I think sometimes but it's interesting, right? Like I think there's a lot of merit to like kind of, I don't know, like not treating this like a job, but you got to do it every day. Like I think a lot of at least some aspect of it, right? But it's interesting because you're right. I think your output decreases when your output kind of decreases when your input increases in a way. It's like the more you're just in that cycle of doing all that stuff, sometimes you're not intaking like life as much, and then that's kind of not conducive to writing new material.
Yeah, because hopefully you're creating and like you're expressing like your experiences, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, how could you express like the same thing over and over again? And at that point it might feel like stagnant, but like once you start like doing more things, like going out, like doing whatever hobbies you have, like I don't know, it's just I think it's about like just having perspective. Being able to like intake more perspective would allow you to like have a bigger and broader like output and what you're doing, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Talk about that experience a little bit. Like, when do you guys feel most inspired to write? Like, are you the kind of writers where, like, you'll experience something, next day you're running to write a track about it? Do songs come from, like, personal emotions? It's interesting.
For me,
go ahead.
For me, it's more, like, subconscious. It's kind of like, I don't have a particular, like, thing in mind, but, like, although I might be, like, feeling it at the moment, but, like, for an example, like, one of the songs, like, we're, like, working on, it's called See You. And I got inspired just by looking at a painting we have in our studio, and you know, just having like a perspective of like, okay, well, like let me look at this painting and see if I can make something that like could reflect how that painting feels or makes me feel, you know.
Interesting.
But sometimes it's just so like subconscious, because it's like we'll end up just jamming out and we'll like shit out like whatever. We're just improvising. We're just blah blah.
Most of the songs,
and we're trying to like latch onto an idea and like grasp on that and hold on to it and just like, okay, let's see where this ride takes us.
Yeah.
You know?
Quite literally.
I
was trying to say, where do most of my ideas come from? Like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., just like hooligan hours, just like I don't know. That honestly, straight up for me, I feel like a lot of like the riff writing comes at like the most inconvenient times.
Interesting.
I swear, it's like everybody's trying to go to sleep, and I'm over here like plugging a guitar into an amp. It's like not it. But
it works though.
And then on top of that, I think a big part of writing is feeding off each other's energy, because a lot of what we like, I think Mondo and Jamie and Randy, everybody in the band have their own specific style of playing that. As much as we're like a unit, we're still kind of getting used to each other's like playing style.
Yeah.
It still comes out in a way where we wouldn't write something unless you have played. You didn't play it the way you did. You know. That makes sense.
That's so interesting to me, because like it's interesting how you say that. Like you guys feel like you're still kind of developing that, because I feel like
to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Not completely, but yes. I feel like what it is that we still get inspired off of each other's like playing habits.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
gotcha.
It's almost like when you're like meeting new people and you're kind of I don't want to say like filtering, but you're like molding yourself to be more aligned to their frequencies.
Yeah.
And because you're like in two different like areas, and you gotta like meet in the middle ground, and that's kind of how it is when you end up like playing with people. We were kind of talking about this the other day, because we were jamming out with a bunch of homies.
Yeah.
Like 2 days ago.
Yeah, on Sunday.
And it was like we were playing things we wouldn't have been playing otherwise if it wasn't for them being in that room.
Interesting.
Playing the things they were playing, you know, like just being around certain people brings certain things out of you.
Yeah.
And but when when you've been playing with somebody for like so long, like you kind of know where like their direction's going.
Yeah.
But if you're all developing together, you're solid. Like it's just still, like he said, we're still kind of learning. It feels, because we're always like developing, right? But because we're continuously developing, we gotta like learn how to move in the new ways we're all moving.
Right.
Separately, but then like as a unit too.
Yeah.
New gear has been a big thing, at least for me recently, because I feel like, well, I guess all.
Oh yeah, once you get to play with new sounds.
New sounds, like we've all gotten a few new pedals in the last few months, and I feel like these last few like months of rehearsing just with new music and just for these bigger shows recently, we have been more inspired with, you know, it's like, oh, like Mondo has this new delay, or he's like using this chorus more, like I have a fuzz pedal that I'm borrowing from him or something, and it's just like, whoa, that like opened it up and then apply that to other songs.
Yeah, that same philosophy goes to like new instruments too, where it's like certain instruments would just like have its own spirit.
Yeah.
And like again, going back to the whole frequency thing, it's like you attach yourself to it in whatever sense it is, and you'll play something you wouldn't have played otherwise if you used something else.
I will also add to the fact that I think me and Mondo have been the main songwriters in the band for a long time, and I think we're really used to writing with each other. Like that's not the part, but I think as of recently with the new EP and what we're trying to release later on, we're starting to like really write with the entire band, and I think that we've been able to like pump out songs a lot faster than we thought we would.
Yeah.
Just because of like, just I feel like, you know, Jamie.
It's been refreshing.
It's been really refreshing.
That's cool.
Just because I know what I would write in my spare time, and sometimes it's like things I've already heard before, and I'm like kind of like, oh, whatever, like cool, but I want to hear like what other people can put on top of this.
It's all about perspective. Let me get that new perspective in there.
Yes, 100%.
Does that have to do with lyrics as well? Like, are Jamie and Randy, are you guys kind of like providing more lyrics now, or lyrics mainly you guys still?
Mainly these guys, but we'll see. Mondo's been teasing Randy and I about doing that, but
been pushing them.
I want everybody to have.
I'll have a song.
Very encouraging about it.
We'll have a song that's like, this has no lyrics, no vocal parts. You guys like have you guys have homework now.
And even now, that's what we're on. I think most of the music for the new stuff we're writing is done, but now we just to like figure out vocals and stuff.
Yeah, interesting. Like you guys talking about this new EP, kind of. I didn't even know that was coming, but I'm excited to hear it and I'm excited to talk about it. Is some of the material on it, is it kind of like different from a lot of the sounds that you guys have been experimenting with?
Yeah.
That's so cool. I'm really excited for that, because I had a question later I was interested to ask about, because I feel like you guys have such a cohesive sound. Like you guys the whole EP feels, I think one of my favorite things about it is it's so cohesive. Like the tracks flow in between each other in such a cool way.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And it's a very cool and unique sound. It's very musically complex. On the new stuff, do you guys feel like kind of staying with some of that complexity and some of those like really, really just, I guess one of the first things that I always hear is just these gigantic like long range kind of like lead guitar lines. The lead guitar lines are always part of what I think makes En-Vitro.
Those are staying there for sure. But we're being a bit more like tasteful about like structure and compositions.
Cool.
It's not as notey. I feel like.
What do you mean by notey?
I feel like a big part of what early En-Vitro was like, let's get together and try to write the most of like create the craziest thing we can come up with, I guess, kind of. Just like try to add as many notes into like into a bar as you can. But I think this is like more tasteful. There's more space between the notes. There's like legitimate melodies and harmonies. I feel like it's just more thought out. Yeah, I think.
Dynamics as well.
Oh yeah,
we've been really big on like, let's get quiet for this part, then we'll get louder here, or like slow up on this part, then go faster on another part. It's just changing like that kind of dynamic change. Because I mean, the album, I love the songs, but I feel like a lot of them are very just, let's go.
Yeah, it's like same energy from start to finish. I feel like a big part of the new songs are kind of different in that sense, where there's so many, like some of the songs have so many sections, that I'm like, oh, this is, pretty cool. It's just not one dimensional. Yeah. Which is what I felt like maybe the album was a little bit.
It's interesting because I feel like because I think to your point, it's interesting that sometimes when you play with some of the really intricate musical complexities, or like a lot of the goal is to go like fast and hard, just really up tempo, driving bass and drums the whole time. Sometimes you can lose some of the, like you were talking about dynamics, sometimes you can lose some of the structure of a song, I think, which is interesting. I don't really hear that in your guys' stuff at all. Like I feel like a lot of it's very well structured on the new stuff, or on the first project, but it's interesting to hear you say that on the new one there's more structure to it and more dynamics.
Well, we're also a little biased too, because I mean, I wasn't even like a founding member of En-Vitro, and I was still playing the album stuff for what, like 2 years.
Yeah. Prior to that was like 2.5 more years on top. So it's like we've been like the album is like 4.5 years of just
damn
like, grinding. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's only been like not even a year since it's been out.
Yeah.
We're like so over this era.
So we love playing live music, but I feel like a part of it is like we wish we can play other stuff besides what we already have. You know, I think that's a big part of having like a big discography. Is nice to just like have songs to pull from instead of having to play the album every single time, which is cool and fun and stuff, but there definitely takes a time where after a certain time it's like let's play something else.
Well, and we like right before the album came out last May, we made a thing, because a lot of the songs that we're working on now already existed to a degree. It's just we said we can't play these live because we need to play album songs because the album's not out yet, or just we need to focus on album stuff because that was the priority, and then the stuff that didn't make the cut this time around put on the back burner. So now it's just nice to have the freedom to play whatever songs at whatever show, and it's been nice, man. It's been really nice.
Yeah. To your point, I think about having a big discography like that. One thing I think that's really important about that is the actual dynamics of a set list. I think are very important. And I think
for sure.
Having a huge discography allows
we're
you
always
to
catering to like what show we're playing with. So like if we're playing with bands who are like just slower paced or whatever, we're kind of like, all right, well, like let's not play all the heavy songs or like the fast paced songs.
And I think,
and vice versa too, you know.
And I think you have way more to choose from, way more flexibility when you have that massive discography, right? Like if you're pulling from 6 albums of material. Well, it's interesting. I had a friend describe this to me one time. She was talking about how she structures her set list, and she was saying that she ranks every song on a scale of like 1 to 10 in terms of energy, and she'll put the 1s next to the 10s and the 10s next to the 1s, kind of in a way where it's like you go up in energy, down in energy, back up, back down. So it's like you have a solemn moment kind of after a high energy moment, and you go right back into the energy. And I thought that was a really interesting concept, and I think the more music you have, the more you have to pull from in that regard.
Yeah.
And it's great for our drummer so he could rest.
Yeah.
Poor Andy.
Dude, I saw this live session you guys did. The name of the Blue Hour?
Blue Dot.
Blue Dot, yeah.
What's it called?
Blue Dot.
Blue Dot. Yeah.
They shout out Gil.
Shout out.
Yeah.
They do great work. I love their stuff.
stuff.
I feel bad I just forgot their name, but I've watched a lot of their stuff. It's really cool. But Randy in it, dude, he's like, his arms, I could tell, were like super tired. Like he was going hard.
Dude, sometimes we would be like, all right, let's do it again. Like we fucked up, blah, blah, blah.
He's like, no, we'll still go back to it. Oh no, that we played a Halloween show with Mind's Eye this last October, and we were outside and it was super cold, and people were saying your drummer is steaming, like literally, like there was like a cloud like radiating.
I believe that.
It's on. Like, I'll find the video at some point. There's like footage of like him like radiating moisture during this.
Dude, that'd be a great merch design. Your drummer is steaming.
Just a steaming drummer. That's crazy. That'd be awesome.
That's crazy.
We'll have to look into that.
He's a real trooper.
Yeah.
I'm writing that down.
No, watching, because I've seen you guys play live, I think just twice. I saw you at the Quinceañera show, and then I saw you at the Sonic Sounds, the one at the Terragram.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was fun.
That was a great show.
That one was fucking epic.
But your guys' live show is so dynamic, and it's so huge. Like, it feels like you guys the whole time. I think it's certainly a product of the kind of music you've put out, but it's so high energy, and it's so, all the parts are so dynamic in like every single song, and it feels like they just range so much, and they're always like these big flying parts. It's really cool. But I wanted to ask about that, because some of the parts, like, you know, there's a lot of genres I think you guys could fit into, I guess, but if you want to label your stuff as, I guess, like whatever, like alt punk or whatever, a lot of what you're playing is like really, really complex for that genre, which I think is really cool, especially some of the guitar lines and the drum beats are just so out there very often. So I was curious, did you guys go, and then there's a song, I think it's track, I wrote the name of it, I think it's track 6 on the project. It's it's or 4. Damn, I wrote it down. One sec. Where was it?
I'm trying to think of what the song.
If it's 4, it's seasons.
It's 4 seasons.
It is seasons.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say seasons on the new album is so different than the rest of the songs, which I thought was really cool. And there's like a different kind of complexity on it, and it was very interesting to me. And I think it was really much a testament to just how good of musicians you guys are. And not to say that like, you know, a lot of punk or alt or rock or whatever musicians are bad by any stretch of the imagination, but sometimes the genre doesn't experiment a ton, which I think is what's really cool about your guys' stuff. So I was curious kind of about your playing background. Did you grow up playing music like together, all you guys, or with your individual instruments? And how did you kind of get to the level that you're at? Because I feel like it strays from a lot of like traditional punk music in a really cool way, especially like even like on a songwriting and instrument level, like on Seasons, the saxophone parts and stuff are so sick. And
that
you go first.
Yeah, so my brother and I have been playing music since we were like kids. Nice. I think it's just one of those like cliche things where like we fell in love with Guitar Hero and like just fucking wanted to pursue it. We were playing it every fucking day. But yeah, we had started playing music when we were like in 5th or 6th grade. And we were just playing together like ever since. And we had that like chemistry because we were playing together all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like we understood each other's like musical vocabulary and dynamics and all of that good stuff, and so we had a good understanding like how we worked as musicians. But we ended up going to high school we went to like a music academy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but I felt like we didn't necessarily like learn as much. Like I forgot like all the music theory, right? But I feel like what I took away from like being in this like music academy was like how to just sound better, you know, like just placements and adding color to your like palette. So like for example, like your positioning and like when I'm playing guitar, I was learning like Baroque and classical music, right? And just being colorful with like your positioning of your hands and the way you're like plucking everything, you know, like having a certain amount of like dynamic range in that sense, you know. And I guess I don't know, we just play like a bunch of different stuff, you know? And I think that's part of the beauty about like what En-Vitro is, because we all play like a lot of different like things, and we grew up listening to a lot of stuff. And I think it shows in the album where like some songs like one of the last songs, Homes, or even the beginning of Seasons, right? That wasn't supposed to be there, but like we just jammed out to Seasons because we wrote the fast part of Seasons first, right? But then like we would just do variations of all the songs we write. And we just really liked playing Seasons slow. And we were like, okay, we can make this super jazzy. So we ended up getting
very jazzy.
We ended up getting a bunch of like
musicians,
like very talented friends to hop on. Sam, shout out Sam. I don't know his last name, but
shout out Sam Smiley.
There you go.
Whoa,
Wendell.
hell of a name.
Wendell. What's Wendell's last name?
I don't remember what it was. Wendell.
Yeah, Sam, our buddy Sam hopped on piano, and it's funny because we ended up just like recording our parts, and we brought them into the studio, and we're like, just play on it, like play whatever.
And they did so well.
Yeah, and they just improvised like everything on it, and we ended up just like comping and making like a full like Frankenstein track of all their parts, and that's what's on the album. Same thing with Wendell playing sax.
Oh, and the backing vocals too.
Yeah.
Hannah, our like co-engineer, producer, fantastic vocalist.
Shout out.
And these heavenly backing vocals over Mondo. It was so great.
The song is so huge in a really interesting way because the beginning of it, like you said, is so slow, and it feels like a kind of like it's almost like you have the first 3 songs and you take a deep breath, and that's kind of what Seasons feels like. And I think where it's placed in the track list is also like very, very smart and interesting.
Yeah, well, we were kind of like, oh, well, like we could just have the song change feelings like the way the weather changes in the seasons.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's what it's for.
And we were like, it has to be the 4th track and the like on the album because there's like 4 seasons, right?
Oh, that's so cool.
That's the way we thought about it.
Yeah, there were only like 2 songs where we're like, these need to be. It was Seasons had to be 4, and then Sports had to be last.
Interesting.
Everything else could
just kind of melded. Eventually, I thought Empty Bones was gonna be the opener, but it never happened to be that way. I think it was Drown.
Hannah pushed for Drown to be first.
Yeah.
And I liked that call.
It makes sense.
I like Drown first. Yeah.
So
it makes sense.
Why Spores last? That was another song I really wanted to talk about.
So the song before that, Home, because the whole album is really just about like going through this like relationship you're just like trying to get over, and that song Home was like, okay, I'm grounded, I'm like
finding home, being yourself.
Yeah,
and quite literally the song is like, home is me. Myself, you know.
And then Spores is like, okay, like I feel good, like after this toxic fucking relationship I was in, let me do some shrooms.
Yeah.
Like,
basically.
And it's like this whole chaotic like ending. Also, because we end up playing Spores like almost all the fucking time last,
like 99% of the time.
Yeah, 99% of the time we're playing that song last in our set. But it's, I don't know, it's such a soothing like ender.
It really is. Yeah, it's a really, really cool song live also.
Yeah.
I watched that video that First Class Studios, that guy's so talented.
Oscar.
Oscar. Yeah, I love that guy.
He's goated. But I watched that live video that he did of you guys playing Spores, and I think that video really encapsulates what's so special about that song live. It's longer, it feels like a jam, but it's interesting too, because I'd heard the song a good amount of times, but honestly, until yesterday when I was prepping for this interview, and I sat down and I was like really deep listening to the album, I hadn't like noticed like what all the kind of the vocal lines beneath all the instruments are talking about, but it's just all about mushrooms.
On Spores?
Yeah, quite literally.
Yeah, it's Terrence McKenna. Just
that's who I thought it was.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I love how we ended up like making that, because Danny, we wrote Spores
just instrumental.
Yeah, we just had the instrumental. We had no idea like what we wanted to do with it, but then Danny was like,
we need something.
Yeah, well, he wanted to sample Terrence McKenna just speaking over it.
I thought it was Terrence McKenna.
Yeah, and
I don't know how it happened to be. I think it was. I was like, I need something. It's too like barren. It needs anything, and I was like, we need to add. I don't know
like just a sample of like him speaking.
Initially, it was just gonna be the beginning.
Yeah, but then it was like, well, let's just take it a step further and have a narration of him like describing something. And so like we spent like 3 days just listening to every single like interview or like speech he has, like literally everything. Just hours and hours and hours. And we were just kind of filtering all the one-liners that we liked. And so now we have a big pile of one-liners we liked. We filtered through those. And then we only got like a handful now, and we were like, okay, well, let's just piece these together and have a narration of him describing to you, the listener, what a shroom trip is going to be feeling like. Yeah. And the music kind of like encapsulates that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. That's so interesting. I really thought it was Terrence McKenna. I'm happy I was right.
Yeah.
But yeah, listening through it does feel like such a soothing closer on the album. It does kind of feel like that moment of finality, like where you're getting out of this bad relationship and you get to this place where like, because it's interesting, like doing mushrooms is not something you want to do when you're in the midst of something bad.
Not at all. Yeah.
I think we all got like a story or two to tell for that.
Have psychedelics played a big role in your guys' lives? I guess not big role, but I guess just, a role.
Yeah, for sure.
I think so.
When we were making the album, or like when I was, because I co-engineered and co-mixed the album, finishing it up, for sure. Especially with Spores as well, because that was not that day, but when we were re-recording it for the album, because we had the demo version as well. I remember we had Danny and I had a very like interesting experience, because we took all the samples that they took and put them on my like 404.
Oh yeah.
And then we put my 404 through his guitar pedal board.
Wait, like a 404 sampler?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And we put that into the
so we recorded it like kind of live, and he'd do the live effects. So all the vocal effects were done live through his guitar pedals. So it was fun.
Oh, interesting.
That's crazy.
So that was definitely inspired by
a few days of just like experimenting with all that stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was definitely inspired by experiences that I've had, and I'm sure like we've had, just because it felt very personal.
Yeah.
in making it. So
I will say I'm not sure how much I can talk about. All I had to say was there was definitely a point in my life where I was microdosing a good amount of times.
Yeah,
it was just a mood booster. I feel like
I've always said if I when I have the money, I will microdose every day or every couple days at least.
Dude, I just remember us being at the studio and we had like a shroom bar,
like a chocolate one.
Yeah. And we were just microdosing. We were like listening to fucking Karen O on repeat.
We were listening to Hideaway.
Yeah, Hideaway. We were like
so
ascending to that, man. Yeah. We were like, man.
This is such a great stuff.
But yeah, I remember you just being like, oh, I'm feeling funny. Like, I just feel weird. Like, I think the room was cold, but you were extremely high.
Yeah. They'll do that.
And then we went outside to like cool down, and I'm like, all right, like, but you had the opposite effect.
Yeah.
Well, and I was just like, bro, I think you're tripping. Like, like we just took all this stuff, and we found out the next day he had COVID.
I found out we had COVID. It was funny.
That's crazy.
I was like having like this crazy.
And this is in the middle of like 2020 or 20.
COVID on shrooms is insane.
2021. Yeah.
Damn, bro, I cannot imagine what that would feel like.
It was the first time any of us got COVID.
So wonky feeling because it was like over here you're like slightly tripping. Things are like kind of moving around.
Yeah, you think everything's great. You're chilling with the homies, listening to Karen O, and then out of nowhere, it's like, all right, you guys are fucked.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, that's crazy. Did you wake up the next day and you figured out you had COVID?
Yeah, pretty much.
I think I realized it the day of. I was like, maybe I didn't want to say it out loud, but I was like,
you were hinting at it, and I was like, nah, you're tripping, bro.
You're fine.
You're good.
That would be a terrifying thing to figure out.
And it was like early COVID, so it was like people got it and you got like deathly sick.
Yeah.
Potentially, and I was like,
Yeah, that was the first time I had COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awful. I hated being that sick.
Yeah,
it was pretty bad.
I remember this one moment during the pandemic when like everything was very like strange and nobody knew what was going on. It was like towards the beginning. I remember like it was right after lockdown happened and I was very much in shock. I was like, how is this like real right now? Yeah. And then I remember like I was when I lived with my parents, but I was in my bedroom and the TV they had the news on or whatever and they were talking about COVID. And then I remember just like going into the bathroom and just like washing my hands just like normally and then thinking like, damn, like what if I got this? Because like we didn't really know what it was in the beginning. Like I don't know, I thought everybody was just gonna fucking die if they got it.
Right. That was
crazy time.
Crazy times.
Yeah, that's half a decade ago now when that started.
No, you're lying.
What'd you say?
Crazy.
That was COVID started half a decade now.
That's crazy.
Whoa,
to think
about. Bro.
We're old now.
It's crazy to think about.
Yeah,
and actually,
super crazy.
I think maybe even a good point to bring up, talking about bands and stuff is like. I feel like COVID bands, like everybody was doing bands, like it's like we had so much time on our hands that we were able to just like write music and just shit out whatever we wanted to, and a lot of people were like taking advantage of that time and just kind of like making bands, and I think maybe I don't think that was an intention obviously to become a COVID band per se. We were already talking about making music prior to this and stuff. It just obviously everything kind of fell into.
It's all circumstantial, we just ended up becoming a band in the middle of the pandemic.
I will say that it gave the platform for a lot of people because there's like more free time and stuff. That people were just writing music and
people were also just scared to go out too. For sure.
Dude, I think about like all the strange externalities that had on just like so many things that you wouldn't think that it had an effect on, but it like changed everything in every industry and every person in such a weird way. Like I'm from San Francisco and I'm not from San Francisco. I'm from the Bay Area, but like I'm from like 30 minutes east of San Francisco, and thinking about San Francisco is so strange because there's a very clear distinction between like post-pandemic San Francisco and pre-pandemic San Francisco because the entire industry in that city just stopped existing in person. Like every single tech job in SF just became an online thing. You have all these like millionaire tech dudes just like moving to like Oregon and living in like the middle of nowhere and just working their remote tech jobs and going into work once a month. And it was like the city has like a very different feeling post-pandemic versus pre-pandemic, and it's interesting because I never would have thought that would have been like a weird externality that came from COVID, but it was.
For sure.
The band thing is really true too. I think there's all kinds of bands that just started during COVID. It was just such like I mean like TikTok really took off during COVID and that changed the music industry. It's just so many things. Like it's
a bunch of like one-hit wonders out there.
Yeah, a ton, dude. Bro, I remember there were so many artists that blew up in COVID that like they like first started making music in COVID, they blew up, and then they just said they never played a show before, so their first show was like an arena, which is like an insane thought.
That is really crazy to think.
Yeah, there's some people out there too who like would blow up on TikTok, and then when they would play a show, they only get like 20 people out.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but it's like you have millions of fucking listens on this.
Yeah,
thing,
dude. I always say it's like the difference between a listener and a fan. Very, very, very different things.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think
I like that.
it's interesting too, kind of wrapping that into you guys. It's cool that your come up was very much just saying yes to every show, playing as much live as possible. Do you remember? Was there a point when you began to see people coming back to shows? Like, when did you realize that people were coming back and that you kind of were growing a live fan base? Was it? I imagine it was super gradual.
Angel and Diego showing up to a show that had 5 people.
we had like 2 diehard fans who'd always come see us.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's like the moment we realized, but I just realizing that people really cared about the music, that they would come even if it was like a room full of 20 people, you know, like they would still support because they enjoy the music so much. I will say like maybe the Quinceañera show, and then we saw people at the what's it called? We played the Paramount. And then we saw some people from the Quinceañera show come up to the Paramount show the next day.
Even before that, we had like people like always coming to our shows, but it wasn't like a crazy amount of like people the way it is now.
I quite literally you know what? Another show that really went well for us was the birthday party we played in East LA.
Oh, Amanda's show?
Amanda's show.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah, we played this birthday party we got hired for, and we didn't think it was gonna do so well, and we got there and it was like
lit,
packed.
Yeah, it was lit.
Packed. And I was like, that was crazy. So I think that might be the first time I was like, oh wow, this is cool. Like, we're doing really well. We also played the Void up in San Bernardino. You remember that? Those were the old bass player. And that show was cool. And people knew our lyrics back then too, which was really surprising. Because this is like now 2.5 years now or something like that.
When was that other show, that birthday party?
Oh,
January 2023. It was like very beginning.
Yeah, because I had just burned my foot.
Yeah.
Burned your foot?
Yeah, I got a 2nd-degree burn on my left foot.
How?
At our old job. Well, he still works there, but like when we used to work with him.
So I can't talk shit.
We can though, because we quit.
Yeah. I won't comment.
It was this like udon spot, and I'm just like stirring this huge pot of like boiling water with like a bunch of udon in it. I'm just stirring it. I look up for a second, like the water just like jumps out, and it was almost cartoony where it was like a splash of water just like jumps out and then lands directly on my foot.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
And it was your birthday or
the day before my birthday.
Oh,
the day before your birthday.
Yeah.
Bro, I got a scar at a restaurant the week of my birthday.
Oh,
see that one right there?
Oh yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it a cut?
Yeah, I used to work at Benihana.
Oh,
and
Benihana's?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know how like, I mean, you guys all worked restaurant jobs, so you know this, but you know how like when the dish rack will come out from the dishwasher, it's hot.
Yeah,
you know, like it's always hot.
Yeah.
So our dishwasher, this guy just he just took this shit straight out and just put it, where the servers were. So whatever, I grabbed it. It was hot, but my hand was cold because I was just scooping ice. So when I grabbed this glass, it just shattered, like in my hand. Like I picked it up. Yeah, kind of like this. Like, I picked like this. I picked it up like this. Boom, just shattered.
Wow.
Yeah, and it sliced the shit out of my hand, bro.
That's incredible. I've never even heard of anything like that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That makes sense though, like from glass or ceramic. Breaks after temperature.
It was so weird because in the moment I had no idea what happened.
You're like, I have superpowers.
No, yeah, dude. Like I spent like 30 minutes after with my hand just like gushing blood. I was like,
man.
what just happened? But then eventually I figured it out. I was like, oh, it was hot and my hands were cold. And I
You
was
start
like,
touching things, hoping they break.
Yeah. I'm like, will this break? Will this break?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Speaking on that a bit, what is it like? Because I know working in music and balancing a restaurant job, which I did for a long time, it's very hard. How do you guys all still work? I mean, you were telling me you work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
How do you guys kind of balance the shows and the practices, and then also working normal jobs just to support yourself? I know you said a lot of the times you'd practice like 11 o'clock
Late
after work and stuff.
Yeah,
Is that? I mean, imagine that's hard to balance. Has it gotten easier over the years?
No.
I mean,
It still sucks.
yes and no, because on one hand we're not playing as many shows.
Yeah.
Because like we're radiused up or something like that, or we're recording new stuff, so we don't have as many things to prepare for week to week. But now that we all work different jobs, it's
even harder.
It's even harder because I pretty much exclusively work at night.
Yeah.
And then he works like every day.
Yeah.
Like our drummer works like Monday through Friday,
Monday through Friday.
like pretty much the same time, but it's just always like we gotta plan like every rehearsal like 2 weeks in advance.
Yeah, quite literally. It's not like, oh, it used to be we're like, oh, you want to have rehearsals today, and we're like, well, I guess I have time. That's how it used to be, or especially when we all worked together. It was all
that was so nice.
Because our studio from that job is literally on the other side of the 405. Yeah. It's like
a 2-minute drive.
It's
nice.
Like a 6-minute
our job,
walk.
The 405, and then like our studio is like right there.
Nice.
I could like all of us could have walked it for our 30-minute break to go.
Nice.
Like,
I think we all have. We all have at some point. Yeah.
I used to try to take like an hour break and take a nap in the studio.
Yeah.
And then go back to work.
Yeah, quite literally.
Yeah, I used to hit like the car naps whenever I'd work doubles. Just go take a nap in the car real quick, blast the AC.
Yeah, that's a great move. When you're working doubles, I learned this like in the middle of all of this, like change your socks.
Oh, yeah, that's so essential.
It changes like.
I've never thought about that.
Yeah, it just like refreshes you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that definitely makes sense.
It like resets.
You're telling me this now?
Yeah, that's life hack right there.
Whoa.
And I work 2 jobs, and I didn't even know that.
Yeah, that's a huge life hack. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Change your socks.
Okay, that's a good note. I'm gonna remember that now.
I don't know what it is about like feet, bro, but like,
dude.
Just that sentence isolated. I don't know about feet though.
That's a YouTube clip.
Dude, working at a restaurant, your feet get so sweaty, bro.
Yeah.
You just get home and they smell so bad.
I don't even want it.
Honestly, like you just smell so bad after a restaurant.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
many. Dude, I mean, it also depends what kind of restaurant you work at. Like, I worked at Benihana where they cook with like a pound of garlic butter on like 26 open face grills. So like
that sounds fucking awesome.
It's like blasted by garlic.
Well, dude, it's awesome if you eat there, but when you work there, it's disgusting.
I can
like,
imagine.
My car, bro, just like for the year and a half I worked there, I swear to God, I could not get my car to not smell like garlic butter. Like no, I mean it's garlic. Like it's the most like it's like notably smelly. Like
yeah, garlic's pretty bad. I thought the tempura and the like.
Yeah, we were making like tempura
batter
and like the
batter gets,
the fish broth also was pretty.
Yeah, there's all types of things that like.
We'll walk into the studio, it just smells like fucking fish.
Yeah,
it was pretty. Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Does it?
Not the best time.
Yeah, trying to balance that. Is there anything about it? Because it's interesting. Maybe I'm projecting here, but I think when I worked a restaurant job and was trying to balance it with everything, there was something. I don't know if it was motivating is the right word, but it kind of put a chip on my shoulder because I think I'd come home pretty often to work on my music stuff after I worked an 8-hour shift, and there was a bit of I don't know if it's I don't think vitriol is the right word, but I think there was a bit of like, damn, I want to stop doing this. It was motivation, I guess.
Right.
Is there any bit of that comes with it for you guys?
Yeah,
for
100%.
sure. It's like I fucking hate what I'm doing right now. I can't wait till I get out and do what I want to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to embrace the hyphen.
For sure.
You need to like make a living doing
embrace
whatever.
The hyphen.
Yeah,
doing whatever.
Yeah, that's the thumbnail, Mario. Embrace the hyphen.
Yeah, doing
that.
whatever you can to like survive, no matter like what it is, right? But yeah, like singer songwriter, barista, or
oh, I see.
I'm a guitarist, udon maker.
Yeah,
whatever.
I see what you're saying.
You know.
I really like that. That's a really good way of putting it. Like embracing the hyphen.
Because sometimes, like even like meeting new people and stuff, and they want to know like about you. I found that like some people end up being like, oh, they'll describe, and kind of like I have their identity be their job that they hate. But then they're doing like something else, and it's like that's really you, not that bullshit job you're like working at. You know, it's like I'm a musician first.
Yeah.
I'm not defined by like the job that I don't even care about, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true.
But it's like you got to embrace that, like you still need to do that. But that does not mean it doesn't mean it identifies you.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think you got to find the beauty in it in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
I think
and like you said, it's like encouraging. Well, I'm going to say it's like no, it is encouraging because it's like I'm doing something I don't like doing. And it's going to hopefully make me want to work harder for something I actually want to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there's something motivating.
But I have to do this right now.
It makes those moments that much more important.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I used to always try to think about like what I could take from my service job. Like I used to really, really try and focus on like all right, like I'm here 5 days a week. Like there needs to be something that I can like take from this. And
for sure.
that for me became like pretending that like I was interviewing customers, and that helped me like so much. Like I think I got way better at interviewing because I worked service jobs. Like just figuring out like the little intricacies in the way that people speak. 'Cause it's interesting. I think interviewing, the way I always think about it is it's kind of like the dance of conversation. And I think like, I mean, I've done like 180 of these at this point, so I've gotten way better at it. But I think like serving tables is a very similar dance of conversation where it's like you need to evoke something out of somebody, and often your money is dependent on you evoking something out of somebody, which is like a strange, almost like manipulative thing.
And you gotta read the room and be like, okay, like how much can I like poke at this? Yeah,
it feels like a dance always. I think interviewing feels like a dance. It's very much like, how do I get this person to like touch on the thing that I want them to touch on? Like how do I like how do you pique somebody's interest really and like keep them engaged? And I thought about that a lot when I was serving tables, and I always tried to be like, all right, like if there's one thing I can do today that's gonna, you know, help what I'm building, it's that. Or like I'd figure something else out or whatever. I mean, I used to have this, I had this book called the Book of Whys, is what I called it.
Book of Whys.
It was this notebook, and I worked service shops for 6, 7 years. I guess 6 years I worked service shops, like 5.5, 6. But I had this book called the Book of Whys. It was like a notebook that I kept in that desk, and I'd always come home whenever a customer said something like super disrespectful to me or super rude or whatever, which I'm sure you guys have experienced. I would come home and I'd write down like what happened, and it was like another reason to try to get out of a service job.
Oh damn! Yeah, it was.
So, I still have it in there.
It's like the Book of Eli.
Yeah.
Whys. I don't know why I even said that, but yeah.
But it was just like a bunch of random reasons to try to get out of it.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything that you try to take from your service jobs? Anything that you think helps contribute to the music at all?
I think you bring up a good point, like having conversations with people. Up until recently, I've been kind of, I don't know, maybe like 2-3 years ago, I was really shut off. I didn't really want to talk to people and just kind of do my job and get the hell out of there type thing. But as of recently, now starting my second job as well, is I have to talk to a lot of customers. Being more of a conversationalist. Yeah. Just being like really being able to like drive a conversation and feel comfortable in that. And I think that just also plays out even in like bad aspects of just talking to people. Yeah. And trying to get along with somebody. Besides that, I don't unless somebody else can bring up an option. But
not really. I don't know if I've like taken away like things that would have been like implemented into the music per se, other than like inspiration is like I'd rather be doing something else. Yeah. But in terms of like,
I will say that
interactions and stuff, like not really. I guess from like my perspective, it's kind of like almost scripted. Where it's
it can be.
We're gonna have this. I'm gonna have the same conversation with like 1,000 people.
It totally can be. Yeah.
Yeah. So well, at least for me, especially when we worked together, because it was such a like fast-paced thing. It was kind of like, all right, let me help you get up.
It was kind of robotic. I'm not gonna lie to you. In that sense.
No, that's totally valid.
Time to talk to people. I think now that it's slowed down, there's more time to kind of be a little bit personal with the customers. But that's about it.
It's nicer when it's slower because you get to like talk to people.
Yeah,
and especially in a place like Saltao, like. There's a lot of cool people there, for sure. The location. Especially because like UCLA is like down the street.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. That was pretty brutal.
Yeah, when we were there, it was always like popping. It was just so busy. It was very bam, bam, bam.
Yeah. No, I feel it.
It was funny though when us three were all working together. When we'd have like a closing shift together, it's like, oh my god, like En-Vitro's working the counters right now.
That's
what our manager would say. It was pretty funny.
I think we had a coworker who would be like, oh, the main cast finally came in.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That's James.
Season 5. Oh yeah, it might have been. Season 5 started or something.
Did the coworkers fuck with the music?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, a good part of when you asked us, I hate to be like, we only had coworkers at our shows, but
actually we did.
There was definitely a time in our lives where we would be inviting our coworkers to our shows. Not like if you were cool, we invite you. Obviously, it wasn't
if you were cool, yeah.
It wasn't like the grandma of the we just invite grandmas to our shows, but. A big part of it was just people who really fucked with our person and also the music.
Yeah.
Just like.
Well, I mean, even like the album art was made by one of our old coworkers.
Oh, whoa!
Like the album art, the logo, designed by a good friend of ours.
Shout out Spell Dealer.
Yeah. Shout out
Spell Dealer. Ria. They're awesome.
We love you.
Yeah, super awesome.
The album art's really cool. Is it like a picture that was then manipulated of you guys? That's what it looks like.
So we were in their room, Rhea, and we just saw this photo on their wall, and we were like, we love this photo.
What was it a photo of?
It was like a photo of their like grandmother and their cousin, I believe, that their dad took.
Oh wow!
And it was them in the Philippines. And we just like we're so obsessed with this one photo, and we were just messing around with it. We like originally put like flowers like on their heads or whatever. We were like, nah, we scrapped that, and we just messed around with like certain things. And same thing with the logo. Like I think we made everything together like within a week, and we were just like manipulating like the photo as much as possible. And we opted for the whole like zigzag like scribble thing all over the faces because we were like, okay, this feels like edgy, but also like
keep them anonymous.
It's you guys.
Yeah. Also, just to hide the fact that it was not us.
That's not you guys?
No.
I thought it was you guys.
No, that photo is like...
What? I'm going to look at it. That's crazy.
That photo is like their grandmother and
now
like
that I'm
their
thinking
cousin.
about it, I can definitely see maybe it being kind of us. Not on purpose, but...
Oh, damn. Now that I'm looking at it, it doesn't look like you guys at all.
Yeah.
But now
but without the context, it's like... but I think that was kind of the point.
Cool,
I wanted to be kind of like this...
We wanted it to be like ambiguous as possible.
You just didn't know what was
like
going on.
You didn't know who it was. You didn't know like where it was,
or where they're going.
Yeah, or like what their like journey was. Like, where were they coming from? Where are they going to?
I mean, like to me, it feels like liminal, but at the same time, it feels like kind of cozy. At the same, like it has like not like cozy.
It's a family
like,
aspect.
It's like a disorienting comfort feeling.
Yeah, literally a family photo. So there's still some comfort.
Yeah, but it's a bit disorienting with like the edit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And even the way the photo, because initially Rhea had asked us if we wanted like an actual printout of the photo, but we liked the way the iPhone took the photo, and it kind of almost animated it a little bit.
There's like grainy. Like,
it's grainy,
on it.
And I like the way it came out iPhone wise. And we actually, I don't think we ever tried just getting like an actual copy of like the photo, like a high definition version of the photo. But I don't know. I think the way it came out with the iPhone was really cool.
I think the way they're walking, there's something really cool about it too. Like it's almost, I don't know, it's very evocative. It's like they're I don't know where they're walking, where they're coming from. It's just like, it's interesting. It's almost like it kind of feels like a debut album photo in a way.
Yeah.
There's like a certain uncertainty to it. I kind of feel like.
We were trying to give like iconic album cover.
Yeah.
That was the vibe.
Yeah, but it's cool that it's so intentional. I think that's really cool. There's that much thought behind it. It's one of my favorite things about, I think, your guys' band. Like, it feels...
We're pretty intentional. Like,
yeah.
We think about, like...
a lot of things we do.
Like, we try to be as meticulous about, like, why are we doing that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we end up having discussions about, like, small details like that. Like the whole thing about seasons and stuff. Like, although it was just kind of like a thing that just happened. Like it wasn't like intentional at first, but then we were like, okay, well, we like this idea, so like let's put more thought into it.
Yeah. I think that really comes across. I mean, it comes across even like there was a ad you guys did for your merch I thought was really cool. The one where you're kind of like a salesman. Like
oh yeah.
Oh my god.
That was inspired from the like a South Park episode where where Cartman is like trying to sell jewelry. And
fuck it, $10.
Yeah, and he's saying all this like crazy shit, and I was just like, this is the most hilarious thing ever. Like we gotta like make something like that.
Yeah.
Hit up the homie.
We actually have like another one just like that, but for like our for like CDs and stuff that we never ended up making.
Damn.
But it was one of those like I was like, oh, you can listen to like one of your favorite tracks, and like the track list would go down with like a highlight.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I do
like the
that.
early like 2000s like promos for videos.
Hits like Drown.
Yeah. Stuff like that.
The intention is really cool. I always find, like what you just said, it's very true. I think it's interesting. Like it almost seems like simple to say, right? Like obviously you should be thinking about everything, but sometimes things just come naturally, and you don't stop and consider alternative perspectives or alternative ideas. Yeah. And I think when you do that, you kind of leave a lot of stuff on the table. I think,
for sure.
Like I think that intention is kind of what elevates artists from like good to great. It's like when there is very specific and very acute attention behind everything they're doing. When you guys are thinking about stuff like an album title or like a song name or even like cover art or whatever, when do you know that you're like overthinking it? Like, how do you get to a place where you know that you're thinking thoroughly about something, but you're not thinking about it too much? Like, when do ideas feel fleshed out and done to you guys? I guess that goes for songs as well.
I think if you stop enjoying it, there's definitely some overthought into it.
Yeah.
If there's something like, for example, I think we've had different variations of the album art where it actually had like a white border around it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's not overthinking it too much, but there are definitely moments where I find myself.
Oh yeah, we had that cream colored like
outline
edging thing, but we were like, it just made it look soft.
Yeah, there's just a lot of things where I feel like if you stop enjoying it, most of the time you're probably overthinking it, and that comes into like I think even songwriting at times where I'll spend a lot of time on one section, like writing different variations of a riff that I already did. I'm like, no, like. A majority of the time, in my eyes, what you thought out first is most likely what you would want, anyways.
Yeah.
Because that's your subconscious kind of like leaking through, like this is it.
That's a really interesting idea. It's almost like you need to trust that first intuition with songwriting sometimes because like that's what people are going off of 9 times out of 10. The average listener's not going to listen to it 20 times on repeat like you are when it's your song.
It's not always the case, I will say. There's definitely times where we're trying to perfect whatever we were doing. Like the idea is there. That I can't tell you how many times I've like came up with an idea and then Mondo has like polished it. That's like quite literally the way we work off. Is I come up with like maybe the embodiment of like an idea and then I pass it over to Mondo. And Mondo's like, oh, why don't we just like take this or add this, and it's a polished version of what I have.
Or vice versa too.
Yeah, vice versa. It always works off that. And I think I brought up that like me and Mondo being like the main songwriters, and then like now up until recently we've been trying to incorporate the band a little bit more and have that collaborative effort basically.
It that's a really cool idea. I think, I don't know, it's always been like, I feel like the bands that like everybody's contributing to every single song sometimes feels very you always hear it like it's always very audible. I interviewed Lily a couple months ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thanks bro.
Great interview.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. They're super sick.
Big fans.
I don't know them, but I love their music.
They're sweethearts, man.
Super
I love them. Shout out Lily. But they were talking about how like very often on a lot of their songs they will just like trade instruments like all around, like like whatever, like Max will come up with a bass part or like Charlie will play a drum part or whatever.
That's crazy.
But
that's crazy.
They were saying that like when they do that, it feels more completely like a Lily song because they're kind of like it's like the sum of its parts, rather than somebody adding to something that's already finished, which I found super interesting.
That sounds really fun.
Cool. No, we gotta try that out.
Yeah.
Thing is these guys are so good at guitar, and I play bass because I'm not good at guitar. So.
I was thinking about that for drums. I was like, dude, none of us can play
Randy's drums.
We'd have to slow down
we
the
would
song.
be a completely different band. We'd be making completely different music.
Quite
it's
literally.
Fascinating to think about. When you guys like, I'm curious, like on the new material, when you kind of started experimenting with different sounds, I know you said that it's pretty different than the last material. When did it start to feel like En-Vitro? Like, did you kind of have to mold those ideas into feeling like your own, or did they kind of immediately come and feel like that because they came from your brain?
When they went from Logic demos to everyone like figure this out and play it together at rehearsal.
Yeah, that's usually when like the En-Vitro sound would like come in, because all of our demos like they just sound different.
I will say they're like. But it does sound different. Sorry to interrupt, but at the essence of it is still very much En-Vitro. It's like, I wouldn't even say a simplified version. It's just a more well thought out version of like what we have out. And like I bring up like it's not as wordy or notey, and I think that's a big part of like what this whole is. We let a lot of things breathe. Yeah. Instead of like cramming as much as we can in these seconds.
It's funny because like some of these songs are like that we're about to release are older than En-Vitro itself.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
Crazy.
And it's funny because it's like going back to the whole like spare the moment songwriting or whatever. Sometimes not all the times, because like more often than not, like whatever you make spare the moment is like, that's the true like purest form of your expression or whatever, right? But because some of these songs are like way older, and we've gone through the experience of like being in a band and this and that, we have new perspectives. We go back to these really old songs, and now we have like a new mindset going into these like old ideas,
which is funny because I'm sorry to interrupt, but you had brought up like, oh, does it like spur the moment or like you ever find yourself overthinking? There's a song where we use the same tuning, and and you had just randomly played "See You." We did clavicle to "See You."
Oh yeah.
And just from 1 second, I swear, like in that moment, we wrote "See You."
Interesting.
Like we like, don't you remember that when we wrote "See You"? Like we didn't take any time prior to this. We quite literally.
I had the song.
Yeah,
like already.
You had it, but like.
But I was just
prior,
like, yeah.
Was like just kind of shat out on the moment. It was really cool to have that happen.
It's interesting because those songs I feel like tend to be the ones that live the longest when they come from one solidified moment. It's always so interesting, bro, to think about, like, because there's so many things that go into it. There's like literally even like the four of you guys, what you did that day goes into it. It's just like how you're feeling in that moment, and then the sum of its parts is what becomes En-Vitro, which is an interesting thing to think about.
That is a good way to put it. I don't know.
It's all like subconscious.
That day we wrote clavicle and "See You," I was having a great day, and maybe not even like in my personal life, but I felt like I was in like my creative peak. I remember just shitting out like so many riffs,
so many good riffs for her.
And I was like, "What is happening?"
We have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah,
they'll find out at some point. But
yeah, it's really cool.
Does songwriting feel? Go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that I just felt really like I popped off that day. I don't even know how it happened, but
does songwriting feel super different when you're having a terrible day versus a really good day? I'm sure it does, right?
Oh yeah. It almost feels like I don't want to write, or what you write about is just really moody sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting. Like, I think some songwriters, I've heard a lot of songwriters talk about how, like, they're often more inspired when they're having negative emotions to write. But some talk about what you just said. Like, some people, when they are feeling that way, they don't even want to write at all.
That's really interesting, because I feel like the early stuff was kind of came from a place of, like, man, like, I'm so bummed out, and I don't have anything else to do, so let me just write music. Whereas now it's like, let's just write music to have fun, you know, and it's like, let's, you know, it's not so much. I mean, the subject matter of the music is like maybe on the not to say that it's sad, but it might not be like the most happiest thing in the world. But I will say that I don't know. There's a certain level of just I guess getting together and writing like that. What was I gonna say? Damn. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, to me it definitely happens.
No, you're good. It'll come back. It'll come back when you're thinking about something else in a random moment. That's always what happens. Talking a bit, like, because it was interesting to start kind of talking about the Quinceañera show and how that was a big tipping point for you guys. Obviously, like, this year's been, or I guess last year, but 2024 was a huge year for you guys.
For sure.
It seems
we
like
definitely felt the plateau level, like rising, you know, like we were out of that plateau.
That's actually I want to go off that because that's an interesting idea. Like, did you feel like before that you were plateauing a little bit, and then like there was this big spike?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Literally, that show kind of like
that show and meeting Jamie and having Jamie be part of the band.
Yeah,
we were like prior to that, we were kind of just like scratching our heads trying to figure out what to do. And there was definitely the big possibility of like, well, if nothing happens in a couple of months, we might just like, I don't know if that was, but like potentially, like. It was. We were just kind of waiting for something to happen, and we actually, funny enough,
it was really crazy how it worked out. Because I think we earlier we were talking about kind of not like fate, but just you know how like post pandemic how things kind of just fall into place. So I had a friend from college who sold these guys her old mixing desk. For their studio. And she's like, "Oh, hey, like
OfferUp or Facebook Marketplace,
something like that."
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, like I'm an audio engineering student," and we were like, "Huh, we want to record something." Like, we got their info, and then
she sent me, she DM'd me something on Instagram, and it was, "Hey, this band from like West LA is looking for a bass player. Like, you should audition." And I didn't. I saw the post and I was like, it's okay. But then I got hired at this restaurant, and one of the managers was like, "Hey, like, so like, what do you do?" I'm like, "Well, I'm an audio engineering student, and like, you know, I play instruments." And he's like, "Oh, like, you should meet these guys who work here. Like, they have this band and they're like pretty cool. Like, you might have heard of them." I'm like, I'm in West LA. I'm like, what are the odds it's the same band? And he pulls them up on Spotify and it says En-Vitro. I was like, no way.
Yeah.
I know these guys.
But I'm like that was like a sign. Like, this is like, I'm supposed to be here.
Like, quite literally, the first day you got hired, I was
first
I was
day.
Like, "Hey, you play bass? You want to come to the studio?" And I think that same day you came back to the studio and we jammed out.
It was.
What was that jam like?
Oh, you were sneaky. You were sneaky. You okay? Because we were jamming, and then he's like, "Oh, you should learn this song," and it was "Drown." I didn't know it. I didn't know what "Drown" was. I didn't listen to them, so I was like, "Oh, like okay." So he taught me the song because he's like, "Oh, it's just one pattern the whole time." I'm like, "Okay."
I was like, "Yeah, it's definitely a song we've never written before. Just jam out."
And he's like, "Oh, like, do you want to come back another day?" I'm like, "Sure." And I pull up, and then like Mondo and Randy are there. I was like,
"This is actually now."
He's like, "Oh yeah." And then that day they're like, "Oh yeah, we have a show next week. Like, do you wanna play?" I was like, Okay, learn the whole set in like a week, but
he got your ass.
You was okay.
And
Don't downplay it. You were excited. Okay?
oh, I was so excited.
You
I
make
was
it sound like you did not want to do this.
no, no. Okay,
You're
yeah,
like, fuck.
let me be clear. I was so down. It was just funny how it was. You learned I played bass and you liked the bass that I had.
Yeah.
And then
the rake. Oh, yeah.
I hate that thing so much.
It's just nice to look at.
Yeah.
It's Rickenbacker.
It's interesting. I
the
think
Risenbacker.
The
Oh my
Risen.
God.
Wait.
I think that really plays into like the whole just wait, at a certain point waiting for something to happen. It's really a testament that you just have to keep fucking going. Like it's really a testament.
It's one of those things where it's like, what's that saying? Like luck favors the prepared.
I used to say this all the time. It's
Yeah, because we were like just
dude,
waiting.
Fuck, what is it? I used to say that all the time. It's
I've never heard this one.
oh wait,
I think it's
it's
the one
coming.
making
It's coming. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I know this one. It's somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just kind of like waiting.
Damn, yeah.
Because we were like ready to go and like just ready to like do like cool shit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We were just kind of like waiting for the right person to hop on this project.
Round it out.
Yeah, and then when we met Jamie, he checked off like everything that we were looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Quite
and we
literally.
were kind of like looking for like
It just worked out really nicely.
Really nice.
Because then I had access to a
Stars
studio
aligned,
at school, so we recorded the album at
It's so interesting.
my school
Mm-hmm.
with my friends, and then we played a lot of shows. We got to play a lot of shows like from their scene, and then play a lot of shows from like my college scene. So then it just
Nice.
kind of felt very truly like DIY, and it was very nice.
Mm.
yeah.
Just 'cause it was very,
I don't know.
like,
This guy was just
communal.
God sent.
You actually also asked like how did a community like that, like how did people end up like singing your songs?
Oh, that's
I will say
interesting.
like building communities in different parts as well. Like we were playing like house shows in LMU, and then all of a sudden we also had an East LA crowd. And then like
And then
The
sometimes
combining.
Yeah.
and then we'd play a show somewhere in between it, and then we'd have like LMU crowd and the East LA kids all like like get together, and it was. I think in the beginning it was kind of interesting because like I think
it was a weird dynamic at first for sure.
the dynamic was kind of interesting because the East LA kids were all like punks and they were all like just trying to get like as rowdy as possible, and like I feel like LMU was like a little bit more like
indie.
party.
like party in like TikTok indie. Like,
Yeah.
no shade, but it was
No,
like
it's true. It's true. And so like that combination of worlds was kind of interesting, but then also just like
Kind of cool.
it was cool.
It showed and highlighted that like we cater to like a diverse set
Group
of
of
people,
people.
you know.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
just wasn't like, like this type of person will be at our shows all the time.
Yeah.
Like it was like it was pretty diverse.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty proud that like our fan base is kind of like that, where it's like it. I don't know. It just reflects like different backgrounds, which I
Yes.
think is fucking awesome.
I feel like that's something a lot of bands strive for. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
That you guys feel like your fan base is very diverse in that regard.
For
I
sure.
think that's a really cool thing. I actually think like it's interesting. I think like there's musicians where like their fan base is like just one kind of person. And it kind of makes like this weird group think.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's kind of cool that you guys feel like your fan base kind of was very much the culmination of these two communities coming together. That's and it's kind of symptomatic in a weird way because it's kind of like En-Vitro. You feel like got this second win when Jamie joined the band, and it was kind of like the fan base kind of got this second win when these two crowds of people collided, which is a really cool thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, and they stuck around too, so that
They
was
really do.
cool. Because I mean, I remember when we dropped "Bury Me" last January, and our release show was
February.
like beginning of February at Moroccan Lounge.
Yeah.
That was my favorite show we played, just purely because of the crowd. Because the crowd was so in it,
Yeah.
and it was a lot of different faces from a lot of different groups that
Yeah, that was
we all
beautiful.
like individually knew.
Which show? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part.
It was our "Bury Me" release show at the
Gotcha.
Moroccan
It
Lounge.
was like February sometime.
Like February last year, and that was like we had just archived our social, like did the full social media restart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, we're dropping a single,
We did the revamp.
Yeah, the whole revamp.
and that was lit. And I mean, everyone sang along. We played really well, and it just seeing the. I just remember just like looking into the because at Moroccan Lounge, I love that place because you can see everybody like very clearly in the
for
crowd.
sure.
The place is awesome.
I love
Yeah,
the Moroccan
favorite
Lounge.
venue for
I think
me,
it
for
is our
sure.
favorite venue.
It's
I
a cool
think
spot.
specifically because it's also like it's not barriers and people can just like if they really wanted to go crazy they
And
can.
it sounds
Yeah.
good.
And it sounds great.
Sounds
The-
great.
The lighting system is fucking awesome.
And
Oh
the
my
green room is
God.
right next to the stage. Like quite literally anybody can just go from green room out to like stage dive,
Yeah.
which we've had a lot of homies do.
It's so
really
fun.
awesome.
The engineers there are really good. Like,
Oh my
it
God.
always like I've been to rap shows there. I've been to like rock. Like it always sounds good.
Yes.
And they have the like bar, like couch area. It's just I love that
Yeah,
venue.
the
but-
Moroccan is great. And I like that there's ins and outs. There's something about a venue who's like, yeah, once you're in here, you can't leave, and it's like, what if I wanted to, like, I don't know, do quite literally anything else for a
outside.
Second. Yeah. And so the ins and outs are cool.
We get food during, like, before playing our set.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't want to pay the bar fee for a hot dog that's like maybe a 2 out of 10. You know?
Yeah. That's valid.
Yeah.
And everyone likes that venue. But yeah, I mean, just that show was super awesome because I feel like I saw like every person that like every like group of people that we had like been playing to since I joined the band, and that was a nice moment, and we played well, so it was obviously a good time. But
rocking was great.
I feel like that quote that you said really encapsulates that idea really well. Like, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Yeah. I really, really strongly feel that you just got to keep taking shots. Like, you just got to keep going. And it's interesting because you never know, like, which stone you turn over. You never know which one is going to amount to something huge. You just never know. Yeah. And I think that's also a testament to what you were saying in the beginning when you were talking about just saying yes and saying yes and saying yes. And it's just kind of like you never know who's going to be at what show. You never know what person's going to be there. It's going to bring you what opportunity. I mean, that's very much like when I started interviewing people, bro, I just interviewed literally anybody. Really? Like, anybody who could had any kind of music at all. Okay. I didn't even necessarily care if I loved it or not, dude. It was just about, like, hearing their story. Mm-hmm. And then, like, from that, I met so many people, and there were so many weird, like, connections that were brought forth because of that. And I feel so strongly about that idea, that you just need to keep saying yes and just hope, in whatever you believe in, whether it's God or the universe or whatever, that eventually, like, something will happen.
Yeah, right. No, for sure.
Divine I don't know. Yeah. but it was honestly crazy moment in our lives.
Yeah.
Jamie. Quite literally changed everything about us.
But even then, it's still like, I mean, I definitely like.
Even then, you were prepared to be like in a band like us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you had your own history of like being in other bands, touring around.
Yeah, because like I learned, I grew up kind of playing music, but I never like learned. But it was always just, hey, like I'll play with a different group, and like it was very much like my musical experience was slot in very easily, like just be very like adapt and learn a song very very fast. Yeah. Because I like grew up like learning covers. I like have negative like experience on music theory.
Yeah.
Even everything I've learned has just gone like out the other ear.
Yeah.
So it was always just okay. Like, can I just learn a song? If someone like shows me how to play, like, can I just slot in,
just adapt, and
it worked.
It
worked.
Yeah.
So,
but even now, when we teach you bass riff, I'm always really impressed about like when Mono teaches you a bass riff, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. It takes you like quite literally like a minute to like get it down.
Well, and I figured them out now too, so it's
yeah. Sometimes I'll be like, play this, and you're like,
it's nice.
It's quick. It's really cool.
But like even when I joined, though, it was still. I mean, it was like up, but I feel like once like the album came out, it definitely felt like, or like after the 15th, it was definitely like more rapid, because we've like last year we played venues that I know like we all grew up going to.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
And that was very surreal. Like very playing the Echo was.
Like Glass House?
Glass House was crazy. Yeah.
That might
Damn,
be my
I was
second.
so mad I missed that show, bro.
Okay.
The Slim Rats?
It was a brutal show.
That show, I'm going to tell you right now, probably, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I shit you not, might be like the craziest show I've ever seen at the Glass House, and it was a show we played. Mostly because...
everybody says that. I'm so mad that I wasn't there. Yeah.
Because,
the Slim Rats told me that too.
Because it was... Okay, it was a packed show. I wouldn't say it was pretty close to selling out.
It sold out.
It's sold out. Like it sold out.
It went
103%.
I'm not sure what happened with the AC that day.
No, the AC was broken.
Yeah, they were supposed to replace it, and I don't think they ended up.
They never did. So the show was AC-less, and it was just a room of like 700 something, like 600 people or something like that.
You said it was A50.
A50, and then it was everybody was just like sweating, but it was funny it was almost like a rave night,
dude.
Where like the people in the back, like quite literally the sound engineer in the back had to take their like shirts off. Everybody in the back was just like shirtless, sweating their balls off. Like it was crazy. Definitely one of my favorite shows.
The energy was insane, but it was
you'd go
gross.
in there like you'd lose some weight.
I think everybody lost 2 pounds.
Dude, I've been to shows like that where that literally happened. Like I'd weigh myself the day up, and the day after I was like, I weigh 4 less pounds.
Dude, that was the show where everybody lost some pounds.
I saw some dudes. It was one of the most vile things I've seen. They were like, they were sweating through their jeans. Like it was horrendous. It was
when you're stepping, you just get the squeaks.
Oh no, it was bad. It was bad.
They brought their
the energy was crazy.
And then you leave and you go outside and it's cold outside, but you're just still warm for some reason.
Pomona,
Oh
so
no,
it was definitely cold.
It was like no, it was not cold outside. I remember
it was cold outside,
dude. It was okay. It was colder in comparison, but it was when we got to the venue. It was 103 outside. It was
was
end
it?
of June. It was my birthday. It was June 22nd.
Yeah, I know.
And it was the end of June in Pomona, in the summer.
Yeah.
Brutal. It was like 100 something outside, and then body heat inside. So like I'd go outside to like after our sets like to take a breather, and I'm like, it's still hot out here, but it's like slightly less hot. It was
damn. I was so dude. I remember being like memorably salty that I missed that show because that one looked crazy.
It was
crazy.
Just definitely one of my favorites.
Definitely a health hazard show though, for sure. For sure.
We don't talk about that, okay?
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch you guys at Happy Taps this year because that'll be like probably as big or bigger. I guess way bigger than that.
Well, stage-wise, I think
it's 1,000, right? Is Observatory plus Constellation Room?
Yes, but I think we're playing Constellation Room.
I'm not sure where exactly.
They haven't really told us.
I'd assume we're playing.
I'd assume we're opening the Constellation.
Yeah. I'm stage managing it, so we'll see.
Are you?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
oh shit.
I did the one last year.
Oh, just let us know.
Awesome.
Yeah, Ed had me do it. I love Ed, bro. That guy is the goat.
Nice.
And we just love that venue because we just played the Observatory. We played Constellation Room a few weeks ago.
With Makeout, right? Makeout Reef?
Yeah. Shout out Josh. And
I love Willowick so much, bro.
Yeah, shout out Josh. Love that guy.
This year, or I guess last year, I keep saying this year, but I guess technically last year.
Yeah.
Been like 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks.
Last year when all that stuff kind of started happening and then things got a lot bigger very fast, were there any like growing pains with kind of getting used to like things moving as fast as they were? Because I'm sure, like as you described, like kind of being in a state of plateau for a while and then just having this massive like everything's moving right now. Was that stressful in any way? Were there any growing pains? Any things that were difficult to kind of reconcile with?
Different.
It was.
I don't know if it was like that much more stressful. I mean, it was.
They're like logistical things. I think like.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess the only like stressful aspect was that like, okay, now we have to do sound check like at 2 p.m.
Yeah,
we have a sound check.
Yeah. Like having a sound check was probably like, at least for my end was like the stressful part. Well, it itself like isn't stressful, right? But it was just kind of like, okay, well now we got to like free up the entire day, as opposed to like before it was like, okay, well we could still like work in the morning. And
carpool,
carpool to like play at night or whatever.
Yeah,
but now it's like, all right.
Also, I think like maybe interacting with people and I guess the image of what we represent as well.
Interesting.
Because obviously
hold ourselves to a higher standard.
Exactly.
We're more visible. Yeah, it's just
because now we're just like being seen a little bit more often. Because I know that I'll be up into some hooligan like bullshit where I get a little too silly and then I'm like there's people watching me, so I have to like keep an eye on like, okay, well in the sense silly, let me clarify, maybe you had a little too much to drink.
No, I figured that's what you meant.
that was for all of us in the early days. And
and then realizing I can't be doing this anymore, and then I have to be like a little bit more locked in, quite literally.
It's interesting, bro, like as that. Yeah, it's interesting. Like in music, the more success you find, you're also more and more of an image, and then you have to like almost hold yourself to a higher standard. Yes. And it's so weird because like you were the kids that are watching you now.
Yes.
You know?
Oh, don't get me started. Yeah,
shift.
That's such a weird feeling.
Yeah.
Being that kid in high school, being like, and I'm gonna bring up bands that are maybe not like. But the Fright to the Buttertones and all these other bands, the Surf Curse, and it's like being the audience member, and then all of a sudden, I wouldn't say obviously at this point being as high as them, but getting that same treatment.
Yeah,
almost.
It's strange, bro.
We're just some guys.
We're just some guys. I quite literally work 7 days a week. Like like
that's always one of the funniest things to me. It's that like people who aren't in music at all, they just assume like bands that your guys' size are like rich. They're like you're like nah, or even
debt right now.
or even like 4 times your size. You know what I mean? Like it's such a strange perspective. I think like I don't know, I almost feel like people are meant to like perceive it in that way. Like there's almost no way to properly perceive it, because think about it, like from an audience perspective, not being in the music industry at all, you have no idea how big any band is when they're playing to a sold out room. They could be gigantic or they could be super small, but they're there and they're literally elevated above you, like in like a physical sense. They're elevated above you. It's hard to not like heroize them in a way, I think.
Yeah, it's a weird dynamic. I think the only other thing that was like weird adjusting to is I mean, obviously it was nice to have time off between shows, not like have back-to-backs every weekend. That also meant we had to figure out how to be like really on top of rehearsing.
Yeah.
'Cause now that we have so much time off, I felt like we're just like, oh, like
it's a lot of proving to do for sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of like definitely feel the pressure where it's like, okay, we definitely have to do better than like
the bar's higher.
Yeah.
I will say like the first opening shows, like the first time we played the Morocco Lounge, we played with Lava Love. I think we were just trying our best to just like pop off as much as we can since we were opening and just like proving ourselves as we brought up. Like
that's when we play best, honestly. Is when I feel like we have something to prove.
We have something to prove.
Like a chip on your shoulder a little bit.
Yeah.
Somehow when we play, I mean, like don't get me wrong, when we headline, it's always a great time. We have a good time, but it's when we have something to prove that we're like, let's get our shit together. Yeah. Not to say that it doesn't happen in either side of the spectrum, but.
You feel a little extra push. Like the Roxy show the other week.
A fire up your ass.
I definitely felt the like,
that was the one with Tony Jupiter?
Yeah.
Nice.
Funny enough, I thought we played really well, but we only had like 20 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah. That was greatest hits run and get out.
Literally just in and out.
How many songs? 6 songs.
Yeah.
6 songs, like no banter, just crank it out.
Which is something I think we also do, which is really interesting. We don't do a lot of banter. We just go.
You guys don't.
We're all introverts.
We're just that's I've realized that like some bands will have like 40-minute sets, right? And they'll like maybe play like 6 or 7 songs, but they'll talk in between it all. While we're just like one song after another song after. We like just try to cram as much as we can into our set.
Bro, like don't get me wrong, I love a good stage banter, but sometimes it's just like shut the fuck up. Like sometimes there's some people where I'm like,
I came to hear your music.
Yeah,
I hear you talk.
Dude, there's some people where I'm like, you don't have to explain the origin story of every single song, bro. Like I'll watch your interview, you know, like, and like I don't mind a little bit, you know, like a little bit's so fine. But I've seen artists where it's just like, god damn, between like every single song, and I think what's tough about that is you eliminate the kind of like the rapid fire nature that sometimes can make a live show so exciting.
Yes.
Sometimes like the back to back is the most important thing. Like that lack of transition is way more important sometimes than the presence of the transition.
It's the energy.
Yeah.
It's like keeping the energy instead of like
killing the room every time.
It's kind of like, can I keep this flowing or am I gonna like interrupt it and talk for a bit?
Yeah.
And then like kind of skew the flow, you know?
Yeah, I think the big thing too, it's like talking for a reason. Like you gotta have someone like
really say.
Like, you gotta have someone to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Can't
like
just be like the song is blah blah.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Like you can't be like, oh, like this song was written when on this day for this reason, and it's just like not a like if there's a really cool story to it, but sometimes people just like they kill the energy in the room. Sometimes I think
I feel it 100%. Yeah, I don't think that's a conscious thing we do per se. I think it's just because we don't have much to say. Except for we're En-Vitro and we're from LA, and that's quite literally it. Or like
thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
Shout out to the bands.
Shout out to the bands.
Yeah, that's quite literally. We keep it as minimal as
Open
possible.
up the fucking pit.
Oh yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Spores. We've recently
that's fun.
We do the Wall of Death.
Yeah.
The Wall of Death.
Is it?
Yeah, we do a wall. Well, we do a wall.
Is that what it's called?
Well,
because when you split the seas?
We split the seas.
Yeah, that's always so cool.
It's always for Spores, so it's fun. It's the last song.
I do a circle pit on Blue Eyes when we went before that breakdown.
Oh yeah. That's fun.
It's just Mondo. I hit this. It's fun, and that's fun because it also doesn't. It rides the wave. So
what's interesting too is like doing that is also like probably more impactful than telling the story of the song. Like simply doing this, is probably like more impactful than like
simple, effective. You know, if they want to know the story,
let me engage you instead of telling you something.
Yeah, it's kind of like the film rule of like show don't tell.
Yeah.
It's very very similar to that. I feel like you touched on it a little bit about like the soundtracks and stuff like that, but kind of on the flip side, like when you have had this last year that was a big spike in a lot of stuff. What were I guess on the flip side, not the growing pains, but what were the biggest lessons that you guys learned from it? Like, was there anything about that you learned, I guess not even only about yourself as musicians, but just like yourself personally? Was there anything you realized within your life?
The growing pains of, I'm sorry, what?
So I asked what the growing pains were of having like a big year. On the flip side of that, what were some of the lessons that you learned? Like some of the things that you took from that going into this next year?
I mean, just...
It's kind of hard to tell because for a lot of us, this is our first real band, if not all of us. I had a band prior to this, and I kind of was taking this. That band was kind of like shits and giggles,
Yeah.
But this is like the first time we're really in a band together, and I think all of it is like learning perspective. We're still learning and stuff, and there's definitely things that we could do better. Don't get us wrong, but and I don't want to take away from your guys' answer, but I don't know if we do have a lot of potential growing pains.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish we could write more, but as of recently, we have been writing more, which is great. I think there was a big part of, like, when we were writing the album, we're like, are we going to write anything else? My biggest fear was, like, do we even have it in us to write more music? But obviously, you know, we've proved ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, like life, like just things that we've learned since this spike. I mean, just we play better when we prepare a lot.
Yeah.
It feels good when we prepare that much. So that's been really nice. And then, I mean, we've just I think we've narrowed down things that we can do, or like gear we can get that would enhance like our experience, like looking into like in-ears, or just like how we go about doing sound checks, and like making sure we know what settings all our stuff's supposed to be at, just like being prepared and just being more professional with how our setups are. Just like refining that has been very like something we've definitely worked on and been very aware of since this. It
might be a little irrelevant, but I've told the guys, I think ever since we played the Moroccan Lounge show, that people, because now as
this last one,
yes, as of recently, all we had was like maybe like it was a pit, but as of recently, people have been stage diving, and I don't think we've been really used to like people stage diving, and I'm like, let's move our gear back a little bit, because I think last time we played Moroccan Lounge, we had people like quite literally stepping on the pedals as they jump off the stage, and I was like, this is a sure way of like breaking all of our stuff.
Yeah.
That's when those barriers are nice.
That's when the barriers are nice. But I will say, like, preventable if we just move back a little bit. I think we were just not used to stage divers at our shows.
Yeah.
You know? I think it's like I think the first time I ever saw anybody stage dive for us was the Telegram Ballroom.
Dude, there were hella stage divers at that show. There was this one girl that just kept going. Dude,
she was at the Moroccan Lounge a few weeks ago. I remember because I was reposting the stories. And she had like made like a little edit of like all of her like stage diving at
that's like your thing.
Shows. Yeah,
I guess so.
That's crazy.
Like, well, that is crazy.
Yeah, no, dude, I remember that girl. She just kept going. Also, that for that show, they just weren't stopping anybody.
No, they weren't.
No, not at all.
I was fucking with it, but I was like, I
Please
think
be safe.
The one time we will stop talking about, like, we will interrupt maybe even a conversation is like, either like get closer to the stage so that if people are stage diving, people like there's more people actually catching you. But just you know, be aware. You know, don't hurt anybody that doesn't want to be hurt. I think a big part of it is like when you go to a pit, you're bound to get hurt in some way, shape, or form. I feel like, but you're in it knowing you're knowingly in the pit.
Yeah.
You know, and so you can't really get mad. But it's important. I think pit safety is important.
I do feel like the scene that you guys are within does a really good job at like watching people and like making sure that everybody's being safe. I feel like there's, I don't know, I always feel like there's always, I think kind of the scene of bands you guys play with a lot, there's definitely a very high level of concern for the fellow pit goer.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, there's an etiquette for sure.
100%.
Yeah, show etiquette's a huge thing, bro. Like, I feel like people who go to a lot of shows can always tell when somebody lacks etiquette because it's just like the way they're acting in pits, or dude, my you know what I hate? When like someone's like, stop fucking touching me. It's just
bro, we're all sardines here.
Like we can't move. Like I'd move away from you, but I can't.
I'm not gonna move from this spot. You gotta go around me. Blah, blah,
yeah, that's annoying. Just
like,
say, excuse me, you know, tap somebody's shoulder. It's like, fuck, dude.
It's like you're still human in a pit. Like you're still like human beings. It's like a necessity to like, you know, communicate. If you know all this.
People want to move, bro. Like it's.
I do feel bad though. There's the term the barricade princesses, and then all the motherfuckers who are just jumping off the stage and landing on all these people's their girlfriends and stuff, and they're like taking the full fucking fledge of like the knee to the face, which is
it's the knee to the face, the
elbow,
the platform docks, like
the platform kick to the face.
It's always the punk. It's like the
dude. I got one of those once. I got a platform dock right here on my neck one time. Oh, it pissed me off. I was like upset the rest of the show.
I feel it. Yeah. That's when I don't want to get touched. Don't touch me.
If you're wearing platform docks, you should not be like crowd surfing,
bro.
You're gonna like fuck up somebody's teeth.
Wear some Vans.
If you're like platform dogs,
get some Chucks.
Like if you're over like 5'10", like don't be like. Yeah. There's a certain like height where I feel like I don't. I'd love to crowd surf. I'd love to stage dive, but I'm like 5'11", 6 foot. I'm like I should not be jumping onto these like 5 foot tall like. The people in the front of the barricade princesses. Like it's just there's a level of self-awareness I feel like, but at the same time people just want to have a good time. I mean, I don't know. I
think it's also like a big part is the music that it comes with, but
For
also
sure.
like the energy that these like events provide, you know. And so like a lot of the kids are like, let's go and have fun, and like, you know, maybe even jump off a stage, and
Which
it's
is
like
cool.
it provides the it just provides the opportunity to do
It's
it.
happiness, bro.
Yeah.
I can't blame them, but
Wow,
at the same
yeah.
time, it's like take care of each other.
Yeah. I think a good testament to that is like, have you guys ever noticed how like you ever play like a quieter crowd or a drier crowd, and then just one person starts moshing or dancing, and everything changes, bro. Like just one person's got to like break open the seal sometimes.
Absolutely, I've seen it. I'm not sure if I've seen. Yeah,
We've played that.
That's happened to us.
I felt like that for the
Roxy
Telegram ballroom show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was scared nobody was gonna move, and then like just somebody started moving.
And the Roxy.
Thank
everybody
God.
followed.
I think there was a small pit for the Roxy.
I'll be honest, I was so nervous. I
towards
was
the
looking.
end. It was towards the end, and I think it was just like somebody just had to get the ball, so kind of just put people in.
Yeah.
Or like at the Echo, the second time, it was pretty quiet, and then there were like 3 dudes in the middle who started like moving, and then like everyone who those shows where the pit, like the people dancing, like are severely outnumbered by the people just wanting to watch. Everyone just moves away. There's like a large circle right in the middle, and
Oh, that is also one of those things where it's like there's like maybe like a 2-minute pit, and then all of a sudden there's this huge gaping,
gap in the middle. Yeah.
Nothing is in there, and then you have to remind everybody like, hey, you know, there's
Fill it in.
Fill it in, and then dance again.
and then it happens again.
Use geometry.
Yeah.
It's been cool. But
Yeah. All right. En-Vitro. The last thing I think it's going to end it on. Last thing I wanted to ask you, if you had one message that you kind of could spread through either the new material or just like through the band in general, one thing that you would want people to take from it, what would that thing be?
That is a good question.
Ooh. Someone else go first.
I think we're all stumped. Hold up.
Let's see.
Take your time.
Let's quickly go through.
Just evolve.
Yeah,
Just
that's a great way to put it.
Just continue like developing yourself and learning, and just.
That's what En-Vitro is all about, I think. Like, besides, I don't think we talked about this, but the whole En-Vitro, like the name itself is like quite literally a scientific procedure, you know, like artificial insemination, all that stuff, which is what I am. I think that's what we named it. And then we also have twins, Mondo and Randy being twins, and that being playing a big part of the name, but also En-Vitro being like, you bring it up a lot, like a garden of sorts, right? Where it's like always like, evolving.
Yeah, like in vitro fertilization is just kind of like, you know, the creation of humans, right?
Yeah.
And like that whole process is just like an evolution, right?
Where it's always
like,
changing thing.
Yeah, it's like we gotta like develop ourselves to be able to like develop as a unit and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess the message from like En-Vitro is just kind of like, just keep growing, keep like pursuing, keep like, I don't know, just learn and
Forever changing.
Yeah, forever changing. Just like don't be stagnant, you know.
It also I saw that the Latin prefix of it is in glass, and I interpret it as if it was like a mirror of yourself, of sort of like kind of just seeing yourself through.
What's that MJ song where it's like man in the mirror? It's like you can't change the world unless you
in the mirror.
Yeah. Where it's like you can't change the world unless you like look at what's that line?
Look at yourself and something blah blah.
I used to know
like,
all the lines of this song. Yeah.
Like
Someone played it. I think I could sing the whole thing.
If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And
if you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change.
Yeah,
but
that's also
I guess like a good takeaway from like our stuff is just ever evolving.
Being open, like be open to loving who you are tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like it's, you know.
I would say that's a good. Yeah, I would say so.
That's beautiful. That song's gonna be stuck in my head for all the rest of the day.
We could sing it together right after
with
this.
the man in the
We can have like an Anchorman moment.
Yeah.
Like a acapella.
What's that song? It's Afternoon Light. You seen that?
Oh yeah.
We all do acapellas.
Oh god.
Great.
Right.
Song.
En-Vitro.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. This is awesome. This is a blast.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Let them know where they could see you live, where they can stream the project, where they could follow you on everything.
Yeah, we're playing Happy Dabs at the Constellation Room, which is at March 28th. Thank God.
So excited, bro.
And we're also playing a Roxy show. Help me out, y'all.
February 5th.
I believe so.
Sometime in mid-February, we are playing the
What's
Roxy
that?
with Choke Cherry.
Choke Cherry, yeah.
Oh, no way.
So that's gonna be dope.
We haven't announced that, have we?
We barely did because that was because of the fires. We
We
were.
I
didn't wanna
love
yeah.
Choke Cherry so much. They're from the Bay.
Oh, sick.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll put you on the guest list.
Dude,
Yeah, let us
please.
know.
I would love to come. Yeah, I'm a
Oh, yeah.
huge fan of them. They're incredible.
Yeah, and then
What else?
we'll be in the studio in a couple weeks here,
Quite literally
recording new
February.
music for you guys
We don't have a date per se, but
soon.
soon. Definitely.
It won't take 2 years.
But yeah, it won't take 2 years.
Yeah.
That's the biggest takeaway from. Also, you brought up. I'll cut it short.
No, you're good. Go
Don't
ahead.
take too much time recording the music because
Yeah.
we spent like 2 years and a half, or something like that, just trying to record the music.
What do they say? They say you have your whole life to record your first album in a year to make your second.
Whoa, that's a great. Wait,
I mean, basically, yeah.
Yeah. If
Well,
it does well, you get a year to make your second one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
And then we also have the album that we just released in May.
Yeah. So,
Fuck yeah.
bottom line, you got music last year. We're gonna record some in a few weeks, and you'll have it this year. So,
We actually have a big plan of releasing a lot of music this year, but
Hell yeah.
that's all.
you'll be
I'll say.
eating good, so it'll be.
You'll be
eating good. It's crazy.
Hell yeah. En-Vitro. Thank you guys. Appreciate
you.
ya.
Thank you.
Hell yeah.
for having us.
Music matters.
Woo.